Hello there and welcome. My name is Jonathan. On this session I would like to walk you through on how you can use Fuel to deploy OpenStack environment on a single computer. This kind of deployment is useful if you are on the lab environment and you want to test drive your private cloud. It's not meant for production. OpenStack is a set of software tools for building and managing cloud computing platform for public and private clouds, backed by some of the biggest companies in the software development and hosting, as well as thousands of individual community members. Fuel is that awesome open source deployment and management tool for OpenStack. Developed as an OpenStack community effort, it provides a GUI for deployment and management of OpenStack related community projects and plugins. Mirantis uses Fuel as part of the OpenStack related solution and they are among the major contributors. Let's take a look at the architecture here of OpenStack of Fuel. Is not monolithic. It consists of several independent components. Some of these components are Fuel specific components, while others are third-party service like Cobra, Puppet, Collective, etc. UI is a single-page application written in JavaScript. It uses Bootstrap and Backbone framework underneath. Nailgun is the heart of Fuel. It's also written in Python programming language. It implements a REST API as well as deployment data management. It manages disk volume configuration data, networks configuration data, and any other environment specific data which are necessary for successful deployment. It has required orchestration logic to build the instruction for provisioning and deployment in the right order. Nailgun uses a SQL database to store its data and the AMQP service to interact with workers. A starter is a layer which encapsulates all the details about interacting with a variety of services such as Cobra, Puppet, shell scripting, etc., etc., and it provides universal synchronization interface to those services. Depending on what you need to accomplish, you can either manage a service directly via its native protocol, for example, XML-RP protocol. It's used there for Cobra. Or of course you can also use the Collective agent to perform a specific task such as launching a Puppet apply on a remote node or running a script. Astat exchanges the data with Nailgun via AMQP, while Cobra is used as a provisioning service. Puppet is a deployment service. With some effort, it's possible to create other deployment frameworks such as Chef, Salt, etc. Collective agent provides a means to perform specific tasks like hard drive clearing, network connectivity, probing, etc. OSTF, OpenStack Testing Framework, or Health Check. It implements post-deployment verification of OpenStack. Its main goal is to verify maximum of functionality task minimum of time, and these functionalities we shall come to witness a little bit later during the hands-on session. And if you want to test the drive OpenStack Fuel, this is an online demo. Okay, you can always go ahead and log in here, and the username is going to be admin and the password is admin as well. This is a cool place that you can use to test drive your your fuel infrastructures, in case if you really don't want to go ahead and do what I am about to show you. Okay, alright, and once again, you can always download the software from Mirantis. Okay, so because I'll be using the Mirantis offering of fuel, and this is the place that you need to come. You will just need to fill your details here, and once you have all your details filled in, and then you just need to go ahead and hit this download now button. Then there you go, you have your software. Alright, and then the other place that you might want to go ahead and check out is the openstack.org for more details as regards to OpenStack, what it does and how you can actually benefit from using the OpenStack cloud. And of course, Mirantis is one of those places you'll always want to come and visit here, because they do offer OpenStack cloud and all that. They actually have lots of solution that they do provide. Okay, so this is also a very good place that you might want to check out, and bear in mind that they are one of the biggest contributors when it comes to OpenStack projects and all that. Alright, so now let's move on to the hands-on session. Alright, as we proceed with the proceedings, let's go ahead and start to set up our infrastructure so that we can deploy our OpenStack GUI management environment, aka Fuel. To do that, I'll have to go ahead and start my virtualization environment, which happen to be Virtualbox. I'll go ahead and go to the machine and new. I will create a new VM, alright, which is going to be a Fuel Master, and that's what I'll specify here for the name. And for the type, I'll go ahead and say Linux, and then for the version, I'll go ahead and specify other Linux 64-bit version and hit next. And then this down here for the RAM, I'll go ahead and specify 2048, that's 2 GB. Alright, and then I will go ahead and default to the default here of creating a virtual hard drive now by clicking create. And here for the hard drive file type, I'll go ahead and specify qcarl. You can check, you can use any file type that you want, but then within my environment I'll go ahead and specify qcarl. Alright, I'll go ahead and hit next, and then for the size here, alright, for the hard drive size I want it to have at least 100 GB. I'll hit create. This is going to create this particular template, which is we can customize it. I'll go ahead and do that right now. It's customizable, so go down to the storage here and onto this DVD CD-ROM, the virtual DVD CD-ROM. I'll go ahead and attach the iOS image that we have downloaded from Mirantis. Okay. So once we have this Mirantis OpenStack iOS image attached onto this CD DVD-ROM, what we want to do is go to the system and change the BIOS setting here. I will uncheck this floppy. As a matter of fact, I will bring it all the way down. I will leave the CD DVD as the first choice there and check there, and I'll also leave the hard disk as the second choice, and then also check there as well. So these settings should be enough for me at this stage for this particular template. I'll just go ahead and say OK. Alright, I'll go ahead and bring in another VM, and that will be the controller. Okay, so this is the controller. Alright. And it's Linux, of course, and I'll go with other Linux 64-bit. Oh, of course, it's a CentOS. You could have chose maybe go with Red Hat stuff. That's okay, but for me, I'll default to that one. Alright, I'll hit next, and then here for the RAM, I would say 1024 gig. It's okay there, and then hit next, and then I'll default to the default of create here, and I'll change this one, of course, to qcarl. That's my preference, and then I will change the hard disk here to 100 GB and hit create. And now we have this particular template as well here, which you can also go ahead and customize it. Go into the settings and go to the system. We want this particular VM, when we boot, we want it to boot onto the LAN, so it makes sense for me to uncheck all of this. Alright, as a matter of fact, I'll bring this one down as well, and then check the network and bring it up. So the first choice will be to boot from the network, and then the second choice is to boot from the hard disk. Alright, this is what we have enabled here. And look for the storage, it's empty, and that's what we want. Alright, so this is gonna boot straight from the network. Okay, so I'll go ahead and specify another virtual machine, and this time around this is going to be the computer. Alright, so this is the computer. And for the type, once again, it's Linux, and then I'll go with the Linux 64-bit for the version there, and for the RAM I want a gig, of course, and hit next, and then I will default to the default of creating the hard drive type, which in this case is going to be the QCAR. Alright, and then I will want to have at least 100 GB of hard drive on this particular VM. Hit create, and this is going to create this particular template, which is very customizable, and I'm going to customize that a bit to our likings here. So I will uncheck this floppy and bring it all the way down, because we don't want to boot from the floppy, and we don't want to boot from the CD or DVD because it's essentially empty. We have not attached anything there. I will bring this network icon, I'll drag it up a bit there so that we can boot from the network as our first choice, and then the second choice is that boot from the hard disk. Okay, so then I'll specify OK, and now we go in for the storage, which storage. The settings there is the same here, so 1024. Alright, it's a pretty straightforward configuration, and here I'll just hit create. I'll go with QCAR next, and then here for the hard drive, of course, I just want 100 GB for the storage device as well, and I'll go to the settings to customize it a bit, especially on the BIOS settings here. I don't want to boot it from the floppy, I don't want to boot from the CD DVD either. I want to boot from the network, and it should be my first choice. I'll hit OK. And the next thing that we really want to do is bring in a PC that we will use to manage all these nodes, our management. So for that one, I will use the image that I have downloaded, the over image file that I have downloaded from sdnhub.org. So I will go ahead and bring this one onto the Virtualbox environment. I'm importing this particular over file into the Virtualbox environment, and I will change the name here so that it reflects PC. I just want the name here to be PC, so if I can actually change PC. Alright, that's what I want. And down here, notice for the RAM I will also change. I will do some customization here a bit. Okay, so we've changed the name, we have changed that one. We are going to change the RAM here. We just want 512. It's just a PC that is going to help us to manage these other nodes within our environment. Okay, I will enable the reinitialization of the MAC address for the network adapter. Hit import. This is going to import this particular over file into the Virtualbox environment. So in a minute or two, we should have a VM that is ready for us to use within our environment. Right. Dido, we do have a VM that is ready for us to utilize. So now we have got 5 VMs that we can use within our environment to deploy this excellent OpenStack GUI management tool, Fuel. Alright, so now let's go ahead and connect these devices onto our terminal server. Alright, and do some the rest of the wiring within the environment. We set up the LAN, that is. Okay, so to do that, I will just go ahead and introduce you to GNS3. I mean, even if this is the first time you're going to use GNS3, I will make sure I explain it in a way that it's gonna make your life much easier for you to get started. Alright, so no fears there. Here for the project, I'll go ahead and call this particular project Fuel. Alright, and I'll just hit OK. Now, regardless of the version that you're using, this is actually the version that I am using of GNS3. Once again, I'll try to GNS3. First of all, you should know that it's very straightforward tool to use, so it should be possible for you to follow along. And That being said, I will also try to be very clear as what exactly needs to happen and why, so that you can easily follow along regardless of the version of GNS3 you are using, or even if you are kind of brand new to this stuff, you should still be able to follow along. Alright, so now I'll go straight to the edit and preferences, and once I'm here, what we need really to do is bring those virtual machines which they are actually on the Virtualbox side of things, so they are right here. We need to bring them on to the GNS3 side of things, so that we can have much more fun with that stuff. Okay, so now I'll go straight to the Virtualbox down here, and Virtualbox gets, once I'm here, if you go to the VM list and hit this down arrow key here, you see nothing there, everything is empty. But if I come here to the refresh VM list tab and hit it once, and then come back here to the VM lists, now I see we have got all the VMs that they are available on the virtual side of things. So I'll go ahead and specify fuel master, and then for the name here I will say fuel master. Alright, and for the number of network adapters I'll leave it to 2, but I'll go ahead and remove this option here because I want to take a full control of all the network adapters that are available on this particular system, and I don't want any assistance from the system. No wonder I had to uncheck this particular option here. I'll go ahead and hit save, and now we see on the virtual machine name list here, we see we have got the name fuel master there, or the virtual machine fuel master down there. Alright, so I'll go ahead and bring this second machine that we want to utilize within our environment, and that is that particular PC. And for this particular PC, I want it to have only one network adapter, which I'll go ahead and specify up there on the number of network adapters, hit save, and now we see we have got that PC down there as well. I'll go ahead and bring some other nodes like the compute node this time around, so I'll specify the name as compute. Alright, this is going to be a compute node, and for the number of network adapters here, we need to have 2 network adapters. And once again, I'm not checking any options here. These options, they should be fine with me. This is really what I want, so I'll just go ahead and hit save, and I will go ahead and bring the controller. Alright, so this one is going to be controller. Just specify the name of the controller. For the number of network adapters, I want 2 as well. Just hit save. Everything is okay there. And then storage, and I'll change the name here to storage. Alright, storage. Okay, so that's fine. The settings, that's okay with me. I'll hit save, and now we have got all the VMs that we really want. All the 5 VMs, they're in place, so just go ahead and say apply and okay. Now GNS3 is aware of those VMs, so we can instantly start to use to make usage of those particular VM. If you go down here to this browse for network devices tab, and just hit it once, and come down here to the Virtualbox icon, and drag it onto the main stage here and let it go. You see you have got your fuel master, and if you hit down this arrow key here, you see the list of all the VMs that we have import or we have make GNS3 aware of. Alright, so we just go ahead and hit OK. This is going to bring this fuel master here onto the stage. I'll go ahead and drag another VM, just hit OK, and another VM until all VMs there on the stage. Once we have got all the VM on the stage, you see there's normal VMs that are all on the stage here. Once we have got all the VMs on the stage, you can just go ahead and close this tab here, and you can essentially go ahead and arrange them the way you want to arrange them. Okay, it's all customized, but that's the beauty of working with this particular tool. It's awesome tool really for the networking and engineers and all that. I mean, there's plenty of stuff you can do with GNS3. It's a marvelous, it's a graphical, interesting graphical terminal server. Alright, so now this is what we have. We need to go ahead and bring in some other device. For instance, we know for sure we need to have a router, so go ahead and drag a router there. This is gonna connect us to the rest of the cloud. Talking of the cloud, here is the cloud actual that this particular router is going to connect us, so that we have network reachability with the rest of the cloud, so that we can monitor this instance from outside as well, and they can get internet and all that. Okay, so we also need to bring in a switch, you can imagine, because now we have got it's not this device that I wanted, but rather wanted to have Ethernet switch. If I can drag this one, yes. Now we need to connect these devices onto this particular switch, and this router goes onto the internet. This could be your ISP or anything. This is just a cloud, okay? It could be your ISP or anything there. It doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and configure this particular cloud. I'll start with that cloud, and I want, if I come down here, I'll specify the interface that I want is P3P1. This is the interface that I want to bridge in, okay? Apply, okay? Alright, so this router is going to connect there momentarily. I'll go ahead to this particular router because I need to add more interface on this particular router. Currently this router has got how many interface? The quick and easiest way to do is just check like this, go to the connector here and enable this, come back here and check. You want to see we have two particular interface. We need to add one more interface, so we should have at least 3 interfaces. So we go to the slots and I come down here to the slots 1, and once I'm here I will specify this particular on this particular slot I will specify this interface here. And then I will go in and say apply and hit OK. Alright, so now if we come back here and hit this connector icon and come back to this particular router, now we see we have got 3 interfaces. Okay, first Ethernet 0/0 should connect to that particular interface there. And in case if you don't have an iOS image that you can use for your device, then that's going to be tricky, because I will not be able to help you with iOS images and all that. You will need to have a Cisco account and go to the Cisco website and get your iOS image. Alright, so now assumption is you have got your router connected there. That's fine. We just need to do some basic configuration on this particular switch here. Because currently, as you see, it only has got 8 ports, so we need to have at least this is our standard switch, which has got 24 ports. So I'll add 24 ports on this particular switch, right, to mimic the real world switch with 24 ports. And then on port 1, this one I will want to have it. I need to document this. Okay, so I'll put you on pause, and then I will need to document as how stuff I want them to be, and then once I finish with documentations, then of course we will proceed with proceedings. Alright, now that we've got our label going on here, things will be much easier now to understand as to what's really going to happen. I'm going to go straight onto this particular switch, and I'll start to do the configuration of the switch. Once again, this particular switch has got 8 particular ports. Alright, so we need to mimic the real world switch to have at least 24 ports. So in order for me to achieve that, I'll just go ahead and hit add here. So I'll add up to 24 ports. Alright, this should do it. Now we have got 24 ports from 1 up to all the way to 24. Coming back to this particular diagram, what we need to do is we can see fuel is going to be connected on port 1 on this particular switch, and on port 2. So ETH0 is going to be on port 1 on this particular switch, which is actual tag with VLAN 50, and port 2 should be tagged with VLAN 100, and this one is actually a trunk. No wonder you see we have got VLAN 101, 102, 103. So this one tells me that this is an access and this one is a trunk. Alright, for simplicity I just had to do this, but I hope it's clear now. So let's go ahead and configure this particular switch of ours. I'll go straight to port 1 here, and I will set the VLAN here to 50, and on this switch now, since I have now that I do have all the 24 ports, what we need to do is just go ahead and configure this port accordingly. Now look into this particular diagram here. I will just say this port 1. Okay, this is on the switch side. This needs to be on VLAN 50. It's going to be access, and then I'll jump straight into the second port, which it's this one. Now this one is also going to be on the default VLAN 100, but I'll say it's access. Alright, and then I will need to go down to port 3. Okay, so this port 3 is going to be VLAN 50, but this one is going to be a trunk. No one down here I had to specify this, so this is going to be a trunk one. Alright, so okay, and I'll go to port 4, which this one will need to be an access. It's going to access VLAN 50. Okay, this is port 4, VLAN 50 access. Port 5, this one is going to be a trunk. The default VLAN is going to be 100, and it's going to be a trunk. Alright, port 6 is going to be on VLAN 50. Alright, and port 7 is going to be on default VLAN 100. That's going to be the default VLAN, but this one is trunk port. Okay, so we have all that. Now we that was port 7. No, did I skip something? Port 7. Okay, so port 3, let me just confirm this. Port 3, okay, port 4, it's actual this one, port 4 is right here. This should be on VLAN 100. Alright, that's the beauty of documenting this stuff. And this is actual trunk, so the default port is 100, and this 5 here, I was too quick. This should be 50, and it's actual access. Okay, and 60 is it's 100. The default VLAN here is 100, 100, and it's actually trunk. Okay, so right, and 7 is essential on 50. Okay, and this is access, and 8, this is 100 now, and this is a trunk. Okay, so the default VLAN for port 8 is 100, which is a trunk, and for port 7 it's just an access port, which is access VLAN 50. Alright, now port 9, down here we can see port 9 needs to be on VLAN 101. Okay, so that's just to make sure like this particular VLAN exists on a switch. So 101 is right there. Okay, and that is access, of course. And port 10, this needs to be on access VLAN 102. Alright, 102, and 11 is 103. 103. Okay, and then I'm going to say add. Okay, and we also need to configure port 22 and port 22, 24, and 23. So, in fact, this one here, I'll come back to that. I think there is a typo error there. This is point 24, and that 24 it cannot be. So let us just do one thing at a time. Port 22. All right, this is VLAN 50. Let's do that. I'll say add, and then let me just put on. Let's do this. Port 23. This will be VLAN 100. This is going to be access. I'll add that, and port 24. Okay, this one we wanted to access VLAN 50. I will do that, and yeah, once that is done, I'll just go ahead and hit apply and say OK. So we have finished with a setup of our ports on this particular switch. What we really need to do now is just go ahead and attach cables onto it. So for this one, I'll go on first Ethernet 0/1. I will go straight to port 22, which is actually on VLAN 50 on the switch side of things, and the second port will essentially connect it to port 23. Let's just go ahead and make those changes there. So I will need to make some changes on this one. This is actual port 23. It's kind of misleading. Alright, so we have changed this to port 23. So this interface now is on port 23. That's what I've configured there. Alright, and it's accessing VLAN 100. Okay, and we also need to now go ahead to ETH0 on this side on the fuel master. That goes to port 1. I bet you don't see, but it will be clear soon. Port 1, which is VLAN 50, that is an access VLAN, and also goes to the default VLAN of 100. This should be on port 2. Okay, that's done. Now we do the same thing here. ETH0 goes to port 3, ETH1 goes to port 4. Alright, the settings you can see there, VLAN 50, VLAN 100 is default VLAN, which is actually a trunk. Alright, this is port 5 goes to ETH0, that's an access VLAN, and port 6, alright, this should be at default VLAN 100, which is actually a trunk. For the storage, we have port 7, ETH0, and port 8, of course, goes to ETH1. And then we have this particular PC, which at this stage I will go ahead and I'll leave it on port 24. Alright, this is our current setup. Now, before we do anything, we need to configure our network accordingly. This particular router here needs access to go to the outside world, and we also have to configure it for our internal. We have to make configure it for the outside traffic and also for the internal traffic. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump straight onto this particular router. I'll start the router, and the router is booting. I'll go ahead onto the console. I'll log onto this particular console, bring the console, and here I'll say no. Alright, so it should be coming up in a moment. Okay, so our router is up and running. We can just go ahead and enable. Okay, so we see everything is fine here. So if we do show IP interface brief, we see we have got 3 network adapters. They are all down. I will start by going straight to configure, and I want to configure the interface. Okay, I'll start with the configuration of the interface. First Ethernet 0/0, and once I'm here I'll say description. I will say ISP. Alright, so IP address, I'll give this one IP address of 192.168.10.210. Alright, and I will go ahead and enable this particular subnet. Okay, I will say IP NAT outside. Okay, alright, and then that's it. So I have defined that particular interface, so I can exit out of this one. Okay, and let's go ahead and configure the other interface as well. This is going to be interface first Ethernet 1/0. Right, and for the description on this particular interface, I'll say this is the one that is connected to the public net. So this is a public net. This is as far as OpenStack is concerned, by the way. And IP address for this one, I'll say it's 172.16.0.1, and of course it's class C. Alright, and IP NAT, I will say inside. I will also say no shut. Alright. Okay, so now we should have that particular interface. The status has changed to up. I will exit. In fact, the other interface do show IP interface brief. I see the other interface I did not bring it up, so let's go there quickly. I'll say configure terminal. Interface first Ethernet 0/0. I'll say no shut. Alright, and then I'll exit. I will exit and let's now come down and do show IP interface brief. Now we see we have got those interfaces up. Let's go ahead and do the final interface. Interface first Ethernet 0/1. Okay, so this one is going to be description. This one is going to be the admin. Okay, the admin interface, admin pixel. This is as far as OpenStack is concerned, and IP address on this particular interface we want to be 10.20.0.1, and it's class CE. Alright, and then IP NAT inside. Okay, alright, IP NAT inside. I'll say no shut. Okay, so we have got that in place. I will exit and do show IP interface brief, and now we see we have got all three interfaces configured with IP address and all that. That's cool. Let's go ahead and enable the native functionality. And now to do that, I will need to go ahead and configure access list. So say access list. I'll call this access list 10. I'll say permit, and what I really want to permit is 10.20. Alright, I will permit this particular subnet. Okay, I will have to follow it up with alright, and then I will also need to permit the other network, the 172 network. Okay, if I can just say permit 172.16.0.0, and the following wildcard bits will be essential here. Alright, so once we have created this particular access list, I will need to go ahead and say IP NAT. Alright, IP NAT inside, so inside source list. Alright, and the source list that we want is 10, of course. That's what we have specified there. And interface that we want to run this is first Ethernet 0/0. Okay, and then we want to overload. Alright, so we have got that in place, and I will need to configure the IP route. Okay, so I will send all the traffic to 192.168.10.10. Alright, that's super. So far so good. We have got all of that in place. I need to configure the IP domain name. I will say internal .labnet. Alright, that's IP name server. I will say 192.168.10.10. This is going to be my DNS. ISIP domain lookup. Alright, I'll just enable IP domain lookup, and yeah, at this stage everything looks to be fine. in as far as the configuration is concerned here. You can go ahead and enable things such as SSH and do some more, maybe put some security on logins and all that, but that's what we'll not do at this session. At least I will just go ahead and save it. Let's try to ping 4.2.2.2 for instance, and see if it works. Alright, so far so good. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up our box here. So I will start with this PC here. Okay, this is what I will start with. So it's booting, and soon enough we should be able to log in. Should be. So I will bring this terminal server here, terminal session here, and we'll do sudo nano etc hosts. I just think we need to change the host name here to reflect the name that we are currently using, which is PC. Right, we'll save this particular file. I will also go ahead and change the etc hostname. This is for the system wide. I will call this one PC. Alright, now once this is done, alright, I'll need to go ahead and alter this particular network file. So we'll change the default settings here, which is to set this one up to DHCP. We don't want that, but we need a static IP. Alright, so the static address that we are going to use is 10.20.0.252, and the net mask is going to be class C, that is right, and gateway it's at 10.20.0.1, and DNS name servers. I happen to have an internal DNS server which is on this particular IP address. So once we have this information in place, we'll go ahead and save this particular file. Alright, so Control O to save this file if you're using Nano, that is, and then I will just go ahead and reboot, and soon enough we should have this particular box up and running. Alright, now that we have logged in, everything seems to be working fine from here on. We'll the basic setup of our network, we see that it's currently working, so we can actually go ahead and ping 10.20.0.1, which is our default gateway, and no wonder we can get into the internet and all that. So so far so good. We'll just go back here to the Virtualbox, to the GNS3, and power off this particular box, because currently we really don't need it. And now we switch our focus to the fuel master here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and boot this particular box as well. So, and I will just go ahead and hit enter to proceed with installation. It's just basically it's just running some scripts here which will help us to set up the fuel let this script run for a while in the background. I'll put you on pause because this is going to take a minute or two, and then once we come back, we should be able to continue with setup. Let's go ahead and do some basic settings here. Okay, here I will actually just go ahead and hit apply. Yeah, all the settings, that seems to be okay, and I will also need to come down here and hit check. See no errors there, and now I will go to the other interface. I need to enable the other interface, which is ETH1. I'll say enable interface, and for the IP address, this interface I want it to have 172.16.1.1 and no, that 1.2 actually, and the net mask is 255.255.255.0. okay, then I'll say apply. I notice I haven't set in a gateway on this particular interface. I can go ahead and check the configuration here. We see no errors. That's cool. So now I will get out of this menu, and then I can go to the peak setup. We see the DHCP settings here. Actually here I don't need to change anything, so I can just say check just to verify if these settings is okay. Okay, so we see no errors. For the DNS here, for the host name I'll leave the default, and the domain as well I'll leave just the default. That doesn't matter really. What I'll need to change here is actually change the extend DNS, so I will use the internal DNS that I have already set up. Okay, so go ahead and hit check. You see we have no errors. For the root password, I will default to the default, so I will not change any password here as far as the root password is concerned. I will leave this one the way it is. And if you don't change the password here for the root, actually the root me is going to be the password with you just replace the O with the the 0. Alright, for the time sync here, I will essential default to the default. The default just work on this particular example, so this should do it. Okay, so we see no errors. The fuel user, once again the default works, which is admin and admin, so the default work. Okay, I will quit the setup here. Straight I'll say save and continue. Okay, scanning the DHCP. Alright, so we are successful there, so I'll go ahead and say save and quit. so now the script will continue doing the execution of all the necessary packages and all that. So, like for instance, currently it's loading the Docker images and all the necessary required packages that will be loaded momentarily. And this is where I will just have to put you on pause and come back once this particular process has finished. It's going to take him some time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, depends with the environment really, but I will put you on pause at this stage. Alright, at this stage we can see like fuel is already set up, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and try to access those link, alright, or those URL, whatever you want to call them. And I will start this particular PC because this is our client now, which we are using it to monitor this particular instance. So we'll just gonna boot. Alright, so once we're here, we'll go ahead and ping 10.20.0.2, and so far so good, we can reach this IP address. So I will go ahead now and access 10.20.0.2, calling 8000. Okay, this is the Fuel GUI interface. So login as admin and the password was admin. I left everything to the default settings and click login. Right now, as you can see here, we are able to log in. Now, since I do have my Mirantis account, I will go ahead and specify it here. Okay. Specify my password, and then I can check this option here, it's okay, and then I'll just go ahead and hit connect now. Alright, so I'll just go ahead and say start using fuel. Alright, so now we see our environment is ready, and we see here, if you come down here, there's just some warnings here. This is regarding the updates, which we can always go ahead and get these updates here. That's okay there. We can just ignore that, or just go ahead and get the update, and then everything should be fine. Now this is the environment that we would like to go and define. So we want to go ahead and create a new environment, new OpenStack environment, and once I'm here, I will call this environment labnet. So I'll call this one labnet. Alright, and then since this box is running on CentOS, that's what the environment that we want. Okay, So we'll deploy CentOS. That's the OpenStack release that we want is June on CentOS. Okay, I'll click next, and then here I will actually default to CRANE. Alright, and then I will hit next here. For the network setup, I will go ahead and choose the Nova network, even though it's depreciated, but we still see there is a lot of people around the globe that they are still using the Nova networking, so it's still supported within the community, so it's okay to test it out. So I'll click next here. So for the storage this time around, I'll default to the default. I will not choose any options here, so I'll just say next, and then I will say create. This is going to create this particular OpenStack environment called LabNet. And then from here now we can go ahead and add nodes, as you can see there. Now, in order for these nodes to be able to be available here, as you can imagine, we will need to go ahead and power them up. So we'll go ahead and start the controller, for instance. Okay, I'll say start. This is going to boot this particular controller. Okay, it's gonna boot from the network. I'll say bootstrap. I'll select this one. Okay, so it's booting there. While that is happening behind on the background, I will go ahead and bring up the other node, that is the compute, and I will go ahead and also bring up the storage node as well. Okay, so I will bring up this particular node. Okay, I'll select bootstrap, and then I will also go ahead and bring the storage node as well. Okay, and once I'm here, I will boot from the bootstrap. Okay, so all these nodes, they're kind of booting right now. So if we go back to our PC here, alright, let's say now we see there is one node that we have, and that node should be there's one node there. So if you go to add node, we see there is one node here. Now it's very easy to figure out which one node it is if you run this node one by one. So for instance, if I go back here to the GNS3 and let's say I go ahead and stop this particular node, and I will also go ahead and stop this particular node. This is just something that I wanted to show you. Okay, so now I will go back to the PC that the client that I'm using to control this, and I go back to the node here. We'll see add new node. We still see we have this particular node. Now imagine if I have 3 nodes running. For new beginner, it's not that easy to identify which node it is, so it makes sense for me to boot one by one. Okay, so we see now I have this particular node down here. I will say this is the controller. Okay, and yeah, so I will just do that. It's a controller, say apply changes. Now once I'm here, I will click this Krawick. Okay, and then I'll come down here to configure interface, and then down here I will need to configure this interface accordingly. Now I know I have got my admin. I have to configure it like this. This is how we have set up this particular interface. If you come down here, you will see the public network here. It's the one that is attached to all these. It's a trunk with all these particular VLANs allowed on that particular trunk. So it makes sense for me actually to, you know, set it up, the public storage and the management and the VM all in one here. Okay, as it can be reflected from this one once again from here. This is a trunk which passes this particular VLANs here. It's the same thing that we've done. So it's a trunk. This particular interface here goes to the trunk, which will permit these all VLANs here. Alright, so, and this one you can tell is an access because it only have this particular network here. So I'll just go ahead and say apply. Alright, since this we know it works fine. And then I will go back to the node here. We see we have this one. It's pending because we have not done any deployment, so it's pending. That task is pending. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start this compute node here. So start. Okay, the node is booting. Then I'll just say bootstrap. Alright, the node is booting. Alright, now let's go back to PC2, which is our client that we're using to monitor this particular environment and to do the configuration as well. So now we see here there is an alarm. Let's just go and check it out. Now we see there is also a new node there that has been discovered. That's cool. So if you go to add new node here, we'll see. If I scroll down, I see I have got that particular node. Okay, so this node I want it to be my compute node. Alright, so this is my compute node. I will check that and then hit apply changes. Alright, and then now I have got that compute node, so I'll click this tab, then I'll come down here to configure interface. Now we see we have got the same scenario. I will pull this one down, take that one as well, and the same applies to that one, and then I'll just say apply. Alright, and then I go back to the node list. So we have that. So we see now we have got here the controller and the compute node. Okay, and the status is pending addition. Okay, so before we add anything, we need to bring the other. We need to bring in the other node. So I'll go ahead and bring the other node. So we'll need to go to GNS3 here and start this particular node. That's the storage node, and soon enough it should be up. So let's go back and monitor this from PC2 perspective. We are waiting for that second node to come up. Once the node has come up, we'll just go ahead and do some very basic changes, settings when it comes to networking, and then we'll proceed further. Alright, now we see we have got an alarm there. Let's go check it out. Now we can see that the other node has also been discovered. Alright, I'll go ahead and hit the add node. Okay, and now if we scroll down, you see there is an allocated node. Alright, so we are going to allocate this, the role that we want to allocate this particular node is storage. So send the storage there, and I will just say apply changes. Okay, so we have controller, compute, and send the storage node. Okay, so they're all pending addition of their pending additions. Okay, so now before we go ahead and add this, I'll go to the network tab. Okay, click this network tab and we can see exactly this is the information that we have already set it up within our environment. So what I will do here is go here and do some basic settings here. Okay, so once I have done this basic settings, then what I will need to do now is just go back to the network tab here and confirm the settings. Okay, and and the way that we are going to confirm the settings is by running this verification network test here, and soon enough we should be prompt with results. Alright, I hope within your environment you have a successful message like this one, and in case you don't, I will go back to the notes here and then just take a look at the configuration of the interface and all these nodes that you have within your environment, and make sure they somehow mimic the current configuration that you are running there. So in case you are having any kind of difficulties, that is, but otherwise in our side we are okay, we are good to go. Now we can attempt to actually deploy this particular environment. Since we don't have any networking issues, everything seems to be fine here. So I can go back to nodes and just say deploy changes, and yeah, we get some warnings there. But once again, these warnings here, they don't stop us from attempting to do what we really want to attempt, because this is for the high availability, and for the sake of this argument, I'm really not interested with high availability and all that. So I will go ahead and just say deploy. Alright, and this is gonna start to deploy the OpenStack environment. Now it depends with the speed of your internet connectivity and all that. You might really want to go and have a cup of coffee, and when you come back within well, I cannot assume how long it's gonna take for you, but it's gonna take at least good reasonable amount of time to finish a cup of coffee. Alright, and then that I will need to put you on pause, so that when we come back we have a system that is running. Then we can proceed by doing some other interesting stuff. Right? You can always check if there is errors on the log while everything is happening on the background. So you can always check to see if there's error warnings here. You see that critical. Okay, you can debug like that. Okay, so, and you can also look for the let's see, this is node 1B. Okay, 1B99. Alright, so I can go here and 1B99. Alright, let's do doesn't matter this stage. Let's check out if there's any errors. Okay, let's do that. Alright, and I'm just trying to show you various ways you can also take a look at the logs in case you do suspect anything. Alright, now we see our deployment. Alright, now that we have got our OpenStack environment up and running, we can always go ahead and open the Horizon dashboard, which is available at this particular URL. I will just go ahead and open a terminal section here. And then once we have this particular terminal section open, I'll go ahead and SSH as root, okay, to 10.20.0.2. This is a fuel master. Alright, so then I will specify password. Okay, so now once I'm here, I will do the following. I need to just get the resolution here. I will say fuel node list. Alright, so these are the nodes that we see and their respective IP address and their rollout, so we can always get it from here, and also the status. We see that they are online and they are all ready. So if we want to go ahead onto the controller, that's the IP address that we can always go onto the controller. Okay, so the controller has been assigned that particular IP address. Now we can SSH with the IP address, or we can SSH with node. So I'll say SSH 10.20.0.3. Okay, so we see now we are on node 1. Okay, and if we do ifconfig and below we see the following. You see this is the IP address of the storage, the management interface, the bridge interface, the IP address here. Alright, so far so good. Okay, and we also see the bridge X IP address, which is actual .4. Okay, so now we can also go here to the health check. Okay, if we come to this tab here, health check, and we can run these tests here. So I'll go ahead and do that, by the way. So I have selected to run this particular health test. Okay, and I'll just hit the run tab. So run test. This is going to run this particular test. So if everything is fine, we should get the greens like that. So to say everything is fine. If you get the errors, and then there's something that is wrong, and we might need to go in and troubleshoot and all that. So the test is running. It's going to take a few seconds or minutes here to finish. So far so good. We don't see any errors here. Alright, that's perfect. And then I will also go ahead and run this set of tests here. This is a functional tests. So we'll go ahead and actually, so that I don't I will answer that one now. Now that we know those tests are working, we can also run this particular test. You can do all these tests at one go, but the reason why I'm doing it step by step is because we don't have things like HA. It's obvious we can skip, because it will always fail, because once again we're not running any HA. And platform services here, some of these ones we will not run, because obviously our system is not configured for that. But this test here, we should be good to go with them, the functional test. So this one I'll go ahead and say run test. Alright, so see that we are doing fine. Okay. Alright, now this test has finished as well. I made some of these other tests, like the platform service test. You can go ahead and do it. and then you can also perform you should be able also to perform the configuration test, and yeah, these are the tests that I can think of that you can possibly do right now. Okay, so you might. Alright, so what we really need now to do once this test has finished is to go to this OpenStack URL. Okay, so let's go ahead and visit this particular URL. Okay, so I will log in as user admin. I will specify password here. Okay. Alright, now we see we have already logged in, and now, yeah, this is essentially your platform right now. Okay, so what I will need to do now is show you, just in case if for some reason, let's say you are not able to run OpenStack within your environment, within your virtualized environment. Let's say you cannot run this fuel, you cannot deploy fuel for some reasons, maybe you are out of resources and all that. There is also another way that you could try OpenStack. This is using the trystack. Okay, trystack is actually found at trystack.org. You can try this particular URL. Okay, you can go here, trystack. You will need to sign up with a Facebook account, which is free. You can just create a Facebook account, and then you can sign up. Now, this is very important. You really need to read this information down here. It has got very good info of what can be done and what cannot be done. You will understand also what are the limitations. But for me, I will just quickly go ahead and log in. I will have to, so that I will show you how it works. Okay, so once I'm here, I will say login with Facebook. Okay, so this is going to log into my Facebook account. Alright, so we come straight into here. You see we have login via Facebook, and you come to the overview here.
Alright, I believe at this stage you have gone through all these the frequent asked question here, so that you know what are the limitations of that you might experience in working with trystack. Alright, and by the way, these are some of the companies that they have made trystack possible. Alright, so I will go ahead and onto my trystack instance here. As we can see, I have already logged in right here. Now I will just go ahead and show you the basic of networking, and this one actually uses the neutron networking, and it's not the Nova networking. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that how we can make things possible for within our network, how we can do networking with OpenStack. Alright, so I will come down here to this instance tab. Okay, so if I click on the instance here, we see currently we don't have any instance running, so I will go straight to the networking. Okay, so hit this networking tab, and I'll come here to the networking topology, and this will give us a nice graphical view of how our networking current looks like. Alright, and as we can see, we currently have only one network, which is the public network. This is the default network that has been created for us. So we will go ahead and create a network. I can just come down to this tab here, create a network, or I can come down here to the networks and then create a network. It doesn't really make any difference. So create a network is straight from here. I'll just say create a network, and then once I'm here, I will call this one
private net. Okay, so this is going to be private net. The status, the admin status is up. I'll go ahead and say next, and then for the subnet name, this one I can skip at the moment, and I will specify the IP address which I want, that is 20.0.10.0. in fact, this is the network IP, okay, the network address, and it's going to be IP version 4, and I don't want any gateway at this stage, so let's go ahead and hit next. Alright, this is gonna create this particular subnet, and then I want to enable the IP address. Okay, so the network was 20.0.10. Let's go with 50. Alright, and then I'll say the pool start with 10.0.10.100. so I have about 50 hosts. This is just to test things out. Okay, I will go back again to the network and confirm my on the subnet here, and confirm this if I'm working on the correct subnet. So it's 20.0.10. okay, so I'll come back here, 20.0.10. okay, so I see we are on the same subnet. Okay, and then I'll define the DNS here to be 4.2.2.2. I'm using the public DNS that is provided by Google. Thanks to Google there. Alright, and then I'll just go ahead and say create, and this is going to create that network of ours. Okay, so the network key private net has already been created there. Alright, so we see we have got a network there. Now we want to connect this network with the public network so that we can have our host, they can have access towards the outside world. Now in order to achieve that, we'll come down here to the router. Okay, and then I will create a router, so just say create router. Okay, create router. The router name, for simplicity, I'll just say R1. Okay, admin state is up. External network, I will select public. This is my external network. I'll say create. Now we have got a router that has been created for us. Now if we come to the networking topology here, we see the following. Alright, we see we have got a router that is already connected. Now we can add this interface here. I'll say add interface. Now this interface that I'm adding, in fact I want to connect this private network onto that particular router there. So I will come down here to select the subnet, and this is the subnet that we want to connect to the router. And then I will not do any changes here. I will just come down here and say add interface. Alright, and now we should see our network. If we go back to the network topology here, we should have that one. Alright, now we have the private network connected to the public network. This can now assure if we have a host connected to the private network, they should have access to the outside world. Now let's go ahead and do that. Now the way I will have to do that is come up here to the compute, and then before doing anything I need to go to the access and security here, and make sure we have got the proper setups. Okay, so here under security and groups, I'll come to manage rules here. Okay, we need to open up our firewall a bit so that things works around here. Currently, as you can see, I already have the SSH enable, HTTP, and the ISMP. Now the way you enable this, you just come down here to add rule, for that. Add rule, and then for the rule here, you will select for instance, I'll say for instance, you can select any rule that you really want, maybe all ISMP, and then you just say add. But for me now here, everything seems to be fine, so I will not choose anything. Or maybe if we choose SSH, and then you come here to SSH, and then you just say add. But once again, I already have these rules, so I'll just cancel that and exit out. And then I will essential go to the access and security. Alright, and then once I'm here, I'll go to key pairs. Alright, I'll come here to key pairs. So I will press this tab, key pairs. So I will call this Ubuntu 00. Alright, I'll say create key pair. Okay, so this is gonna create this particular key pair, and then I will of course have to download this particular key pair onto the system that I want to use this particular key pair. It will become clear in a minute, so I'll go back to access and security. Alright, and now we see we have that particular key pair there. And then I will go to the float IP address. Now here is where we can allocate a float IP address to our instance. So this will be like doing NAT, if you're familiar with NAT or masquerading. Okay, so I'll go back to the instance here. Alright, so once I am on the instant here, I'll just go ahead and say launch instant. Launch instant. Okay, and this instant I will call it www.tst. Okay, and I will say this is min small, and then I will say for the instant boot here, I will select the source to boot from image. Alright, and then I will select the image which I want, which is gonna be Ubuntu 15. Alright, and then I will go to the access and security tab here, and you can see we have got the key pair there, Ubuntu 00, which is associated on this particular instant. And then I'll go to the networking, and then we see we have got a private net there. Okay, so I'll just say launch instant, and then this is gonna create this particular instant for us. So soon enough we should have it. Okay, so the instant is being built. Alright, now we see we have got this particular instant with a private IP address. And if we come down here to the network, and then we go to the network topology and check out how things looks like, we should be able to verify that. Alright, so we see we have got our instant there, and it's connected to this particular network here. Now we need to do the masquerading stuff, so I'll go back to the compute, and then I'll go to access and security here, and then once I'm here, I'll go straight to that floating IPs. Alright, and then I'll say allocate IP to project. Okay, and then I have the pool is public. Alright, that's what we want, and there's one IP address that is currently available. Say allocate. Okay, now we should see that IP address here. Okay, so we have got this public IP address. Okay, it says currently it's down. We can actually associate it to the instant. Okay, right away we can just say associate, and then okay, so this is the IP address, and the port that we want to associate is this particular host. Okay, so I can just say associate. Alright, and now if we go back to our instant here, okay, if we go back to our instant here, we should be able to see. Okay, So now we are seeing that the IP address there. Alright, now let's go ahead and test the stuff out. I will just try some IP reachability here. Okay, I will ping that one. Okay, so this one works. Now I will try and I will try to log in via SSH here. I will first try to adjust the permission of this particular file. So once I take care of the permission there, what I'll need to do is say SSH -i, and then I will specify the file name, and I want to log in as user Ubuntu. Okay, and this is the IP address that we want. Alright, and then of course I will accept these keys, and we should be prompt. Yeah, now you can see we have already logged in, and everything seems to be fine. So this was just a basic way of how you can use trystack within your environment. So I hope this has been informative to you, and I'd like to thank you for watching.